Before you complain about your bad day, take a deep breath. We're about to show you 101 people who would trade their catastrophic, soul-crushing, unbelievably absurd day for yours in a heartbeat. This isn't just bad luck. This is a masterclass in pure, uncut misfortune. 1. Some bad days start with spilling coffee. Others start with a full-size toilet flying off a truck and obliterating your windshield on the interstate. No, seriously, this happened. The driver was thankfully fine, but explaining that to the insurance agent had to be an all-time great conversation. 2. The perfect cliffside proposal turned into a high-angle rescue mission. After the groom-to-be got so excited, he literally tumbled off the cliff. Firefighters had to rappel down to get him while his girlfriend watched. She still said yes, which is arguably the biggest shock of the entire story. 3. A driver in Iowa, ignoring multiple wet concrete signs, confidently drove their brand-new SUV directly into a freshly poured highway section, sinking it up to the windows. The car is now a permanent and very expensive part of that road's foundation. 4. A man trying to get a scenic photo with a majestic swan learned a valuable lesson in wildlife etiquette. The swan, apparently not in the mood for a photo shoot, viciously attacked him, dragged him into a lake, and effectively held him hostage until help arrived. Some birds are less graceful beauty and more feathered gangster. 5. In a desperate attempt to be the funny guy during a school play, a student accidentally superglued his own hand to his face. The play continued with him on stage, permanently locked in a facepalm of shame. That's one way to get a standing ovation for all the wrong reasons. 6. A woman's relaxing bath was rudely interrupted when her entire ceiling gave way, dumping insulation, drywall, and years of attic dust directly into the tub with her. Forget bath bombs, she got a demolition bomb. At least she was already in the right place to wash it all off. 7. Think about the confidence it takes to rob a store without a mask. Now think about the cashier recognizing you, saying, "Hey Dave, what are you doing?" and the robber just giving up and walking out. His criminal career lasted exactly 12 seconds. Some people just aren't cut out for it. 8. A new intern, trying to make a good impression, decided to heat up his leftover fish curry in the office microwave. He accidentally set the timer for 20 minutes instead of 2. The resulting burnt fish and curry plastic inferno was so toxic it triggered the fire alarm, forcing a full evacuation of the 30-story building. 9. A janitor at a modern art museum in Italy threw away part of an installation worth thousands of dollars because she genuinely thought it was just a pile of leftover garbage from the opening night party. Technically, she was just doing her job a little too well. 10. A tourist thought it would be hilarious to get a photo with his head inside the famous Mouth of Truth statue in Rome. The joke was on him when the ancient stone jaws somehow settled and trapped him. A team had to work to free his head from a tourist trap that became a literal trap. 11. A would-be burglar in Arizona got himself hopelessly stuck in a home's chimney. After hours of failing to wiggle free, he had no choice but to call 911 on himself. The fire department successfully extracted him, delivering him directly into the custody of waiting police officers. 12. A couple's beautiful outdoor wedding was interrupted when a massive swarm of bees descended upon the ceremony. The vows were cut short as the entire wedding party, including the bride and groom, had to flee for their lives. The phrase "be mine" took on a whole new terrifying meaning. 13. The owner of a new high-tech self-driving car was showing it off to his neighbor. He didn't realize he'd accidentally activated a summon feature. Later that night, his car silently drove itself out of the garage, went to the nearest Taco Bell drive-thru, and repeatedly tried to order 100 tacos by bumping into the speaker. 14. A freshly hired programmer, on his very first week, accidentally ran a script that deleted the company's entire production database. In one click, he managed to do what corporate rivals had been trying to do for years: take the entire company offline. 15. Trying to remove a stubborn tree stump, a man decided to use a little too much explosive. Instead of just dislodging it, he launched the stump like a mortar shell, sending it arcing through the air and directly through his neighbor's roof. That's one way to meet the folks next door. 16. At a chili cook-off, a contestant accidentally used a ghost pepper in his mild recipe. The first judge to taste it took 1 spoonful, turned beet red, and immediately required medical attention from paramedics. His chili was disqualified for being a literal weapon. 17. A grown man, trying to relive his childhood, got himself completely stuck in a toddler's swing set at a public park. Firefighters had to be called in with the jaws of life to cut him free in front of a growing crowd of very amused onlookers. 18. A UPS driver was more concerned about a "Beware of Dog" sign than the small goose wandering the property. That was a mistake. The goose was ferociously territorial and trapped him in his truck for nearly an hour, hissing at him every time he tried to get out. 19. A group of friends at an amusement park had their day of fun turn into a nightmare when the roller coaster they were on got stuck at the very top of a loop. They spent the next 3 hours hanging upside down, watching the change fall out of their pockets. 20. A woman meant to text her boss, "Sorry, I'm running a little late," but autocorrect had a much spicier idea. The resulting message was so wildly inappropriate that she just gave up, turned her car around, and drove back home to start looking for a new job. 21. After winning the lottery, a man was on his way to claim his multi-million-dollar prize when a sudden gust of wind blew the winning ticket straight out of his hand and into a storm drain. He went from being a millionaire to just some guy staring sadly into a sewer. 22. A homeowner with a crippling fear of spiders decided the best way to kill one was with a blowtorch and a can of spray paint. He got the spider, but he also managed to set his entire laundry room and a good portion of his house on fire. The definition of overkill. 23. Two robbers broke into an electronics store and stole a box filled with dozens of brand new GPS tracking devices. They then led the police on a very, very short chase, as officers simply followed the perfectly laid out digital map directly to their hideout. 24. A television news reporter was doing a live segment about a sinking boat, while standing on the boat as it was sinking. He heroically continued his report as the water rose around him, ending his broadcast waist deep and becoming the story himself. 25. A woman was just walking down the street when an eagle flying overhead accidentally dropped the fish it was carrying for dinner. The large, slimy fish slapped her directly in the face, knocking her over. It's hard to complain about a bad day when the universe literally fish slaps you. 26. On a first date, a guy tried to smoothly lean against a railing near a public fountain. He misjudged the distance completely, tumbled over the edge, and landed with a huge splash in the water. The date was over, instantly. 27. A man trying to install a new toilet somehow managed to cross-thread a pipe, causing it to burst. He didn't just flood his own bathroom. He flooded his entire apartment and the 3 apartments directly below him. He became the building's villain in under 10 minutes. 28. A student pilot was going through pre-flight checks when he accidentally pulled the ejector seat handle while the jet was still inside the hangar. He was launched violently into the hangar's ceiling, while the multi-million-dollar plane remained perfectly unharmed on the ground. 29. Someone left a pressure cooker on the stove and forgot about it. It later exploded with enough force to blow the kitchen door off its hinges and embed carrots into the ceiling. Their kitchen was instantly redecorated in a unique beef stew explosion style. 30. A farmer got knocked into a muddy ditch by one of his own very angry rams. The ram then stood guard at the edge of the ditch, refusing to let him climb out for over an hour until his wife came to investigate the commotion. He was held hostage by his own livestock. 31. After getting his brand new drone stuck in a tree, a man had the brilliant idea to use his old drone to knock it down. You can probably guess what happened next. Now he has 2 very expensive drones stuck in the same tree, mocking him from above. 32. Imagine the confidence of wearing trendy new swim trunks to a crowded pool party. Now imagine discovering they were the dissolvable prank kind only after you've cannonballed into the deep end. His day went from party starter to public indecency charge in seconds. 33. Waking up to find your hair being aggressively eaten by a robot is a special kind of hell. A woman fell asleep on the floor, and her robotic vacuum cleaner snagged her long hair, attempting to clean it by dragging her around the living room by her scalp. 34. A dump truck driver, given the wrong address, backed into a suburban yard and unloaded 10 tons of sand directly into the family's pristine, in-ground swimming pool. The kids wanted a sandbox and a pool. Now they have a very gritty, unusable combination of both. 35. A family couldn't figure out why they kept receiving Amazon packages for things they never ordered, like light bulbs and watermelon cages. They finally caught the culprit, Their pet parrot had been mimicking their voices and ordering items through their Alexa device. 36. Ever had unexpected guests? How about an entire SWAT team smashing through your door at 5 a.m. with flashbangs, only to realize they have the wrong address? The subsequent apology from a guy in full tactical gear probably doesn't cover the cost of a new door. 37. A man trying to clean a stubborn coffee stain off the pristine leather seats of his new luxury car decided to use something stronger. He grabbed a bottle of what he thought was a special cleaner but was actually pure acetone. He didn't just remove the stain. He instantly melted the top layer of the leather into a sticky, permanently ruined goo. 38. During a live cooking show, a celebrity chef tried to flambe a dessert with a little too much enthusiasm. The resulting fireball shot upwards, activated the studio's fire suppression system, and drenched the entire set, the audience, and the chef in foul-smelling extinguisher foam. 39. The halftime show took a turn when a professional basketball team's mascot, attempting a dunk off a trampoline, got its oversized foam head completely wedged in the rim. The game was delayed for 20 minutes while they tried to figure out how to safely decapitate their own mascot. 40. A guy took his new girlfriend on a romantic hot air balloon ride. It was perfect until a sudden wind change forced them to make an emergency landing in the middle of a maximum security prison yard. Their date ended with them surrounded by guards with rifles drawn. 41. A guy hosting a huge barbecue marinated 50 pounds of chicken for 24 hours in what he thought was his grandmother's secret olive oil and herb blend. He only realized, after everyone had eaten, that he'd used a 2-gallon jug of his wife's incredibly expensive, floral-scented luxury bath oil that she kept in a similar-looking container. 42. A man on vacation, renting a powerful jet ski for the first time, decided to see what it could really do. He floored it, aiming for the open ocean, not realizing he was in a small, enclosed bay. He crossed the entire body of water in about 3 seconds and crashed directly through the outdoor dining patio of a 5-star waterfront restaurant. 43. The CEO of a major company, furious with an employee, used voice-to-text to dictate a message to his assistant. Fire Jim immediately. His incompetence is staggering. The system, however, sent that exact message not to his assistant, but to the entire company's general announcements group chat. 44. A city maintenance worker accidentally broke a valve on a fire hydrant, turning it into an uncontrollable geyser. The high-pressure stream was aimed directly at an open apartment window across the street, effectively turning one poor guy's living room into a car wash for 3 hours. 45. A fisherman in Mississippi felt the catch of a lifetime on his line. He fought it for nearly an hour, dreaming of a record-breaking catfish. He finally pulled it up, only to find he'd hooked a very angry, very large alligator that was not happy about the new piercing. 46. In an attempt to be cool, a skater tried to grind down a long public staircase railing. He lost his balance immediately, but instead of just falling, his belt loop snagged on the railing, leaving him hanging upside down by his pants for everyone to see. 47. A woman bought what she thought was a teacup piglet. A year later, her tiny companion had grown into a 600-pound commercial-grade hog that had learned how to open the refrigerator and now ruled the house like a porky dictator. 48. A tourist visiting a wildlife safari park ignored the many signs to keep windows closed. A giraffe then poked its head into his car to say hello, got spooked, and completely shattered his windshield with its massive head on its way out. 49. An amateur chemist trying to create a giant elephant toothpaste foam reaction for a YouTube video got his measurements spectacularly wrong. The ensuing foam volcano not only filled his entire backyard, but also overflowed into 3 of his neighbors' yards. 50. During a company-wide Zoom meeting with the CEO, an employee thought his camera was off. He proceeded to stand up, revealing he was wearing a professional shirt and tie on top, but only a tiny pair of superhero-themed underwear on the bottom. He was very, very wrong about the camera. 51. A group of friends decided to save money by painting their own car. Instead of automotive paint, they accidentally bought several gallons of household latex paint. After the first rainfall, their car looked like a sad, weeping rainbow as streaks of color ran down the street. 52. At a house party, a man trying to show off his strength attempted to open a champagne bottle with a large sword. He swung with immense confidence, completely missed the bottle, and instead cleanly sliced the head off a nearby ceramic garden gnome. The gnome's head then flew across the yard like a projectile and smashed the host's kitchen window. 53. A man proudly unveiled his brand new top-of-the-line riding lawnmower. On its maiden voyage across his perfectly manicured lawn, the brakes failed, sending him careening down a hill, through a fence, and directly into his neighbor's inflatable pool party. 54. A woman was trying to secretly record a terrible street performer to send to her friends. She forgot to turn off her flash. The sudden bright light startled the performer, who dropped his flaming torch onto his own bag of props, creating a much more interesting and flammable show. 55. Trying to be a good Samaritan, a man helped an elderly woman carry her groceries into her apartment building. The automatic door closed behind him, locking him in the lobby with no way out and no phone, while she unknowingly took the elevator up to her floor. 56. A forklift operator at a massive warehouse was having a bad day and clipped the corner of a shelving unit. This started a catastrophic domino effect, bringing down aisle after aisle of inventory. It was like a slow-motion, multi-million-dollar disaster movie. 57. Ever feel like you're being watched? A family discovered their new home came with a permanent resident, a colony of bats living in the attic. Their first night was punctuated by the delightful sounds of hundreds of tiny clicks and squeaks right above their heads. 58. A guy thought it would be a hilarious prank to fill his roommate's entire room with packing peanuts while he was away. He didn't realize his roommate was deathly allergic to styrofoam. The prank quickly turned into a frantic 911 call and an epic cleanup job. 59. At a dog show, a contestant's perfectly groomed poodle decided, right in the middle of the judging ring, that the judge's leg was the most attractive thing it had ever seen. The elegant competition devolved into a very public and awkward display of canine affection. 60. A bank robber successfully pulled off a heist, but in his haste to escape, he ran directly into a freshly cleaned, perfectly transparent glass door, knocking himself unconscious. The police found him there, peacefully napping in a pile of his own stolen money. 61. A college student pulling an all-nighter fell asleep with his face on his open textbook. The next morning, he woke up late for his final exam with the entire text of page 94 temporarily imprinted backward on his cheek. He literally had the answer written all over his face. 62. A woman's romantic dinner was ruined when her date, trying to impress her by opening a champagne bottle with a saber, missed the bottle completely and instead sliced cleanly through the tablecloth, sending all their food and drinks crashing to the floor. 63. What's worse than a flat tire? Getting a flat tire right next to a prison, which then goes into lockdown, forcing you to stay in your car for 4 hours because you're parked in a restricted zone. The tow truck driver wasn't allowed in, and he wasn't allowed out. 64. A city was testing its new tornado warning system. It worked perfectly, except they accidentally synced it to the local ice cream truck's jingle. Now, every time kids hear the cheerful music for ice cream, they're also gripped by the primal fear of an impending twister. 65. A man installing a new satellite dish on his roof slipped and began sliding down. He managed to stop himself by grabbing the dish, but in doing so, he accidentally aimed it directly at a military communications satellite, briefly jamming a key government channel. 66. A squirrel, after finding and consuming a homeowner's stash of high-end espresso beans, went on a caffeine-fueled rampage. For the next hour, the tiny rodent systematically dismantled the living room, shattering heirlooms and tearing apart pillows like a miniature furry demolition crew. 67. A bagpiper was hired to play a solemn rendition of Amazing Grace at a funeral. As he took a deep breath to play the first note, he accidentally stepped on his own bagpipes, causing them to emit a single, prolonged, and comically loud fart noise that echoed across the silent cemetery. 68. Trying to get the perfect sunset beach photo, a woman set her phone on a timer and ran towards the water. A rogue wave came in much faster than she expected, completely soaking her and, more importantly, carrying her brand new phone out to sea. 69. A man proudly installed a new smart toilet with a remote-controlled bidet. His neighbor, trying to connect to his own Bluetooth speaker, accidentally paired with the toilet instead. He then unknowingly activated the high-pressure jet wash feature, while the man was peacefully sitting there, resulting in a sudden, violent, and very personal aquatic assault. 70. A truck carrying thousands of gallons of concentrated bubblegum pink paint pigment overturned on a major freeway during a rainstorm. The result was a river of indestructible pink that flooded the highway, stained hundreds of cars, and created a traffic jam so epic and surreal it made national news. 71. Hosting a fancy backyard dinner party is stressful enough. It gets infinitely worse when your new smart sprinkler system mistakes the barbecue smoke for a fire and unleashes a high-pressure water assault on your guests, the perfectly cooked steaks, and your social standing. 72. You know that awkward little dance you do when you get tangled in the Venetian blinds trying to peek outside? Now imagine doing that, but with more panic, causing you to fall and rip the entire fixture off the wall, revealing yourself to your neighbors in a cocoon of twisted metal slats. 73. A farmer's teenage kids thought it would be funny to see if their prize-winning cow would jump on their new, extra-large trampoline. The cow did, in fact, get on the trampoline. The result was a chaotic, uncontrolled bouncing that ended with one very confused, 1,500-pound animal crashing through the roof of the family's garage. 74. A surgeon was performing a delicate, live-streamed procedure for a group of medical students. Just as he was about to make a crucial incision, he was overcome by a massive sneeze. In that split second, the permanent marker in his hand flew across the patient's abdomen, leaving a huge, ridiculous-looking smiley face that he then had to painstakingly work around. 75. A homeowner decided to paint his living room walls with what he thought was a trendy, high-gloss paint. It turned out to be industrial-grade marine enamel that never fully cured. For years, everything that touched the walls, dust, pet hair, guests' clothing, became permanently stuck, turning his home into a human flytrap. 76. Blindly trusting your GPS can be a mistake. It's a full-blown catastrophe when that GPS navigates your rental car off a side street and directly onto the course of a live city marathon, turning you into the most hated, slow-moving obstacle for 10,000 angry runners. 77. A family, excited for their vacation, showed up to their rental beach house only to find another family already living there. It turned out they'd sent their entire vacation fund to a very convincing scammer and were now just a family with suitcases, standing awkwardly on a stranger's lawn. 78. Trying to swat a persistent fly at a high-end art auction is a risky move. One man learned this the hard way when the auctioneer interpreted his frantic waving as a winning $50,000 bid for a sculpture that looked like a pile of welded-together car parts. 79. The people on a whale-watching tour wanted to get up close and personal with nature. They got their wish when a massive humpback whale surfaced, took a deep breath, and then exhaled a gallon of fishy, foul-smelling blowhole mist directly into their faces. 80. After spending 6 months meticulously building a flawless, intricate ship in a bottle, a man sat back to admire his masterpiece. In that final moment of triumph, he let out a powerful sneeze that was just enough to send a shockwave through the bottle, shattering his creation into 1,000 tiny pieces of wood. 81. A tech enthusiast secured his most valuable possessions in a new, state-of-the-art safe that only opens with his fingerprint. The very next day, he got a deep, nasty paper cut on that exact finger, effectively locking himself out of his own life savings. 82. A woman wearing a beautiful, long scarf stepped onto a crowded subway train. As the doors slid shut, they snagged the very end of her scarf. The train then began to pull away, yanking her violently backward onto the platform in a move no fashion accessory should ever perform. 83. The best part of ordering a pizza is the anticipation. That is, unless the delivery driver accidentally swaps your order with the one for the exotic pet store down the street, and you open the box to find not a pepperoni pie, but a very large, very angry scorpion. 84. Deep frying. A frozen turkey is a notoriously bad idea. One man discovered just how bad when the resulting grease explosion not only incinerated the turkey, but also created a fireball that melted the vinyl siding clean off the side of his house. Thanksgiving was officially canceled. 85. A man at a gym, trying to impress onlookers, set a treadmill to its highest speed and attempted to jump on. The treadmill belt acted like a catapult, instantly launching him backward at high velocity, sending him crashing through a plate glass window and into the smoothie bar. 86. Some mistakes are small. Others involve misplacing a decimal point. A junior employee at a large corporation accidentally ordered 10,000 high-end office chairs instead of 100, committing the company to a multi-million-dollar purchase they couldn't afford or store. 87. A cat can be a loving companion, or it can be an agent of financial chaos. An online poker player learned this when his cat, walking across his keyboard at the worst possible moment, stepped on the exact sequence of keys to make him go all in with a terrible hand, losing $1,000. 88. Being health conscious is great. Less so when you spend Sunday prepping a week's worth of salads, only to realize you've dressed every single one with what you thought was olive oil but was actually a bottle of lemon-scented dish soap your roommate left on the counter. 89. Forgetting to blow out a candle before you leave is a common worry. For one man, that worry became a reality when he returned from a weekend trip to find his scented candle had burned down and melted a perfect, irreparable hole straight through the bottom of his acrylic bathtub. 90. After spending 8 agonizing hours meticulously assembling a massive, floor-to-ceiling IKEA wardrobe inside his small bedroom, a man finally put the last screw in place. Stepping back to admire his work, he realized with chilling certainty that he had built it in a way that now permanently blocked the only door to the room. He was trapped. 91. A man decided to pour a self-leveling concrete floor in his own basement. He meticulously started at the far end of the room and worked his way backward, only realizing when he was done that he had trapped himself in a corner with no exit. He had to stand there for hours, slowly sinking, waiting for his masterpiece to dry. 92. There are many reasons to secure your pet door. One family discovered the most chaotic one when a raccoon got in, found a 5-pound bag of flour in the pantry, and then proceeded to redecorate the entire first floor of their house in a ghostly white powder. It looked like a bakery had exploded. 93. Seeing a man gasping for air at a restaurant, a heroic bystander rushed over and performed a forceful Heimlich maneuver. He successfully dislodged the obstruction, which turned out to be the man's own dentures, launching them across the dining room and directly into another patron's soup. 94. A wedding photographer spent 10 hours capturing every perfect, once-in-a-lifetime moment for a happy couple. It was only while packing up his gear at the end of the night that he discovered, with a soul-crushing certainty, that he had forgotten to put a memory card in his camera. 95. A social media manager thought they were posting a wildly inappropriate meme to their private account. They were not. They had instead posted it from the official corporate account of a Fortune 500 company, instantly broadcasting their terrible sense of humor to millions of followers and the entire executive board. 96. Giving a huge presentation is nerve-wracking. It's even more so when you walk confidently to the podium, unaware that a pair of your own underwear, thanks to static cling, is stuck to the back of your skirt, dangling there for the entire audience to see. The silence was deafening. 97. After carefully packing for a cross-country move, a man put his wallet, phone, and keys on the roof of his car for just a second. He then got in, completely forgot, and drove onto the highway, only to watch his entire life fly off the roof and scatter across 4 lanes of traffic in his rearview mirror. 98. A pizza delivery driver, rushing to a customer's door, tripped on the front step. He didn't just drop the food, he face-planted into it, creating a modern art masterpiece of marinara sauce, cheese, and human despair all over the customer's pristine white porch, all perfectly captured on their doorbell camera. 99. Trying to clean his wooden deck, a homeowner rented a commercial-grade power washer and set it to maximum. He didn't just remove the dirt. He stripped off the stain, the finish, and carved deep, permanent scars into the wood itself, essentially turning his beautiful deck into a field of splinters. 100. The perfect public proposal on a crowded pier went south in spectacular fashion. As he knelt to present the ring, a passing jogger bumped into him, sending the tiny, very expensive diamond ring flying out of the box, bouncing once, and disappearing forever into the dark water below. 101. Finally, a man won the grand prize in a contest, a brand new 6-figure luxury sports car. His day couldn't get any better. Until, that is, the flatbed truck delivering his prize was involved in a freak accident, and his dream car arrived at his house as a single, compressed cube of metal. And there you have it. 101 masterpieces of misfortune. But now, the final verdict is yours. Of all these stories, which one person, just one, was the most spectacularly deserving of their fate? Pinpoint their name and their exact moment of terrible judgment in the comments. If you enjoyed playing Judge, hit like and subscribe for more cases.